I reckon tomatoes would have to be one of the most beautiful plants, loved by gardeners and non-gardeners alike. Now, they're fairly easy to grow, but there's a few tips that'll turn a decent crop into a bumper harvest. I sowed the seeds of these plants back in spring, and they've grown strongly, so it's time for them to go in the ground. Now, if you haven't sown your tomato seeds yet, I'm sorry, you've missed the boat. But don't worry, it's tomato time. So seedlings like this are available everywhere, from nurseries, garden centres, even your neighbours. Now, we classify tomatoes in two main types, depending on their growth characteristics, what we call determinate and indeterminate. The determinate varieties are what we call bush. They get to about 50 centimetres high, and the good thing about them is they flower and therefore fruit all at the same time. So they're really good if you're planning on making sauces. The other type are called indeterminates. They're the ones that grow tall, vine ripened. The good thing about these is they flower and fruit as the season progresses, so you can harvest as you like and you get a long, extended cropping period. So to my top 5 tips. Number 1, soil preparation. Now, I know we say this all the time, but for tomatoes, it's an absolute must. Soil conditioners like sheep manure and cow are favourites of many growers, but I like to use compost with a handful of blood and bone just to push the plant along. Number 2, planting. Because they're big plants, especially the indeterminate varieties, I like to give them a metre by a metre spacing. When it comes to how deep to plant them, many people will plant them at the depth that they are in the pot. But I've found that if you go a little bit deeper, the plant will form roots out of the stem, meaning you'll have a bigger, deeper root zone, so the plant will be better able to forage for its own water and food. Number 3, feeding. Potassium is a tomato's best friend. I add a small amount of sulfate of potash when first planting, and then again at the first sign of fruit. When the plant is tall and laden with fruit, I like to come back through and put a larger third handful of potash down to ensure there's enough potassium for the fruit to ripen well. Number 4, watering. The most essential ingredient of all. At least once a week, give your plants a long, slow, deep water. Consistency is the key here. And remember, don't overhead water your tomatoes. They hate their leaves staying wet. Number 5, training. With the determinate or bush types, they don't need any training. But with the indeterminate or climbing types, once the plants are big enough, stake them. I like to use Rio instead of wooden stakes, which tend to break and splinter. You can stake your plants when they're taller and they need it, but I like to do it at the time of planting. This way, the stakes will afford some protection to the plant, and it means I don't run the risk of stabbing a root later on. Now have a look at this. This little bit of growth at the junction point between the main stem and the leaf is what we call a lateral. Now, when the plant's at this stage of development, I leave them on, and then I find the 3 strongest and I tie them back to my stakes, removing the rest. But bear in mind, if they're big enough and it's early enough in the season, you can snap these off, stick them in the ground, give them some water, and you'll get a new plant. Also, I concentrate on removing leaves. Certainly the lower ones that are in contact with the ground. They just become highways for pests and diseases. But by removing the leaves, you're promoting upward growth and good air circulation around the plant, meaning a healthy plant and a good crop. So there you go. Tomatoes are the crop that showcase the difference between store-bought and homegrown. If you're already a fan, I'm happy for you, and I hope you got something out of these tips. But if you're a first-time grower, get out there, get planting. You're in for a life-changing experience. Best of luck, and I'll see you next time.